Revelation 21. When I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and first earth have passed away, and the sea was no more. And I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. All right, now here's where I do a little segue rant. Previous church I came from, I have nothing but the highest esteem for the pastor. Phenomenal teacher, he's great. The one thing he used to say, that I had a full head of hair when I went there. I'm not actually bald. I would rip my hair out when he would say this all the time. And my wife would have to say, stop, because you could see me getting crazy. One of his favorite phrases was to prove why Christians are not going to go through the tribulation. They're all going to be raptured before the tribulation. He would say, Christ doesn't beat his bride before he marries her. And I would go nuts. This is why. First off, the lessons we just did, persecution not only should be expected for the church, it is normal for the church. Peter says, don't be surprised when you come into tribulation. You're supposed to. Jesus said, a servant's not better than his master. The world persecuted me, they're going to persecute you. It is the normal lot for Christians to be persecuted. He said to Rich today earlier, if the devil's never punched you in the face, it's because you have yet to step into the ring. If you are a real Christian, you'll be persecuted by the world. The entire Scripture warns of that. Tertullian, I think it was Tertullian. If I'm not, just pretend it is. The blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. That is how we grew, was us being executed. In the world today, if you're not in America, this century has been the bloodiest century in all of history for Christianity. We've had more martyrs this century than the other 19 combined. The lot of a Christian is to be at war with this world. It is to take a beating. It is to endure tribulation. So that's just biblical and historic factual exegesis. That's why it aggravates me. But that's not the real reason it aggravates me. And this is the reason I asked him when I kind of did, not quite an exit interview, but when I left, and I implored him, please don't say that anymore. And this is why. I asked if there's any pastors out there, please don't ever say this. As a police officer, I know that the American world, as protected as we are, isn't all roses and candy as some of us believe it is. There are a lot of people who are very battered, very bruised, and very beaten. They go to a church to seek solace because they heard about this love of Christ. Now for this person who's been beat up by the world, to step into a church and be told, oh, Christ doesn't beat his bride before he marries her, what's the only logical conclusion they can make? Well, I guess I must not be the bride of Christ. And they'll leave. So if you're saying that, stop. Okay, so that's the one. Now, let's get back into just exegesis. Here's the other problem with it. Church loves to call itself the bride of Christ. Right? Now, well, we're the bride of Christ. We're the bride of Christ. Okay, where do you find it? You only find it one place in the entire Bible, and you don't really find it that strong. In Ephesians, Paul says to men, you should love your wife in the same manner that Christ loved the church, and he gave himself as a sacrifice for her. So it's an analogy. He's saying that's how you should love your wife that much. You should love her the way Christ loves the church. It doesn't say we're the bride of Christ, but okay, I'll accept it. The reason I'll accept it is because I say the church is grafted into the vine of Israel. That we are the New Jerusalem. So yeah, we're the bride. Because everywhere I read in not only the entire Old Testament, the whole book of Hosea, everything is about Jerusalem is the bride of God. That's the only where you hear about the bride. It's always Jerusalem. And you say, well, that's Old Testament. This is New Testament. Well, Revelation, you don't get much more New Testament than Revelation. You spin a couple more pages, you're out of the Bible completely. You're as far to the right in the Bible as you can get when you're in Revelation 21. And in Revelation 21, who is the bride of Christ? The New Jerusalem. So, option one. We're grafted into the vine. Jerusalem, Israel, the church. We're all one thing. We're all the bride of Christ. Or if we're two separate things, you got a problem because you ain't the bride.